What's up, guys? Chris here, YugiVlogs. Just trying to get another vlog in because I'm gonna get a box opening of Abyss Rising this weekend. I should anyway. So I just want to get a vlog, and what I'm gonna talk about this time is gonna be something that I've seen a lot of people really request that I talk about. I guess my opinion on rogue decks. Now, what a rogue deck is pretty much a deck that isn't meta, or a deck that hasn't ever been meta, or just a whole new deck, a whole new inspired deck. So pretty much, and the thing about these vlogs is that I wing them. Like, I don't have like a script, or I don't think about what I'm going to say. I just talk about like what's on top of my head. Now, rogue decks are generally decks that I don't want to say they're not very good, but they're decks that the player has made personally, and they obviously aren't tier because with only that one person running it, they're not going to be they're not going to be famous decks. Obviously, I'm not saying they're bad, but like it's kind of rare that you see a rogue deck win an event. Anyway, rogue decks are good though. Like, I'm not going to say they're bad. They're good decks. There are some good decks out there that are rogue that people have never heard of, people never play. Like, I've played against let's see, I played against Worms. That's a rogue deck. They're really good. Just like usually anti-meta decks are rogue decks. I've seen a lot of good builds. I've lost to a lot of decks like that. As you guys know, I kind of run a rogue deck. I run Watts without the hopper lock. Again, the rogue deck isn't bad. Like, this deck is really good. Like, I love this deck. It's just amazing sometimes. I've done really well with this deck, and I rarely lose with this deck. It's just really good. When you can take a deck that revolves around a certain play, such like Watts and Hopper, and you can make it your own, and you can make your own to the point where it's competitive, to the point where you love playing it, to the point where you can win and you feel comfortable enough to play with it, then that shows a lot about your personality. It shows a lot about the kind of player you are. The thing I like about this game is that there is a meta, and a lot of players wait for the meta to come up before they make a deck. Like, I remember when the format first changed, a lot of people were saying that GBs were going to be the deck to play, but I obviously knew that wasn't going to happen because of triple MST and a heavy and stuff like that. And the moment people started using Geargias and stuff like that, everyone in my local switched to Geargias. And I always thought Chaos Dragons are still going to be good this format. And the moment the Chaos Dragons started winning regionals, everyone started running Chaos Dragons. So that's a lot of people. I'm not saying all people are like that, but there's a lot of people like that. The thing about people who run rogue decks they're usually very independent, but they're usually not the people who you see topping our regionals and stuff. So like, I've played a lot of rogue decks, and it's funny is that this SWAT deck is more like an anti-meta, like a stun, and it generally loses to rogue decks, which is kind of hard because I remember when I was testing for regionals, I posted on the page that I want to test a meta deck on DN. Someone help me. And people were saying, oh, test against rogue decks, because that's what you're going to see at regionals, blah, blah, blah. And I know that I'm going to see rogue decks at regionals, but it's kind of, like, dumb to test against rogue decks online, because the odds of you playing that same rogue deck are slim to none, because the player who makes the rogue deck is generally a person who only has that build or only has that deck. So, yeah, like, I lost against Worms. Like, who runs Worms at regionals? I don't know, but the guy was a good player. He told me that he's been running Worms for the longest, and he loves Worms, so, like, I give him props for that. Like, he's good. He's a good player. He ran with Worms. Now, you can play a meta deck, and it doesn't make... This is the thing. I hear a lot of players who run rogue decks. Like, I hear a lot of them complain about the meta, and complain about the players who use the meta, and personally, I run Chaos Dragons also. That's a meta deck. It's a really good fucking deck. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Chaos Dragons is probably one of the best decks of this format, I really believe. And, yeah, like, I have my Chaos Dragons right here. Like... let me just show you any first dragon there. See? I like Chaos Dragons. They're a really good deck. I love the deck. I'm thinking of just running it for a while to retire the Watts. But just because you play a meta deck doesn't make you, like, a bad player. It doesn't make you, like, a mainstream player. It doesn't mean that you only run the deck because it's meta. It doesn't mean that you're only good because you run the deck. That's what I don't like about that. Like, I don't like how this game has become that misconception that every person who runs a meta deck is only running it because it's meta. Like, I could have chosen to run Geargas or Windups, and personally, I think Windups are probably even better than Chaos Dragons. Like, I take the back off being last format. Like, Geargas, I've had trouble playing Geargas too. But like I can play them, but I choose Chaos Dragons because I like playing Chaos Dragons. There's a really big luck factor in the deck. That's what I don't really like about it. But I like playing Chaos Dragons. Sorry if the camera's shaking. Um, yeah, like I have never talked down on a player who plays meta. Like if they play meta, then that's them. They play the meta. Usually, people who complain about the meta and who complain about the players playing it like that are the people who I don't want to say aren't good at the game, but that really don't give the deck a chance to the point where you can experiment, to the point where you can think of all the other plays like Dino Rabbit. People always complain about Dino Rabbit. Like the deck's not even that broken. It's really easy to get around. Like Rabbit first turn Logia and that's it is really easy to get around. And I've been playing sometimes where I draw like Cobblezools, Sabersaurus, Lance, Warning, and something stupid. And I can't grab it first turn, but I still win because the thing about Dino Rabbit is that Rescue Rabbit isn't broken. The thing that's broken in Dino Rabbit is the ability to go Logia first turn, set 4. Dino Rabbit wants so much protection, that's what makes it broken. Complaining about one card and one play in one deck isn't really like, I don't like when people do that because I think it's kind of stupid. Let's see, Windups, Magician and Shark, obviously a broken play. But if you have Torrential, they fucked up. If you have Torrential, you let them get their whole play off, they lose. Gyria's again, like it's just every deck has its flaws, and the fact is that a lot of people don't like to see the flaws. They only like to complain about what's good about the deck. So anyway, back to rogue decks. If you're playing a rogue deck and you love that deck, like I love my Watts. Like if you're playing like, cause I love this deck. So that's dying. That's not a Watt. Okay. I love this deck. Like this is my baby right here. Like I've been playing Watts since YCS Long Beach. Before that, actually, I've been playing Watts since before YCS Long Beach, and I have not stopped playing Watts. And I got my invite with this deck because I love playing Watts, and I never liked the Hopper Lock, so I always tested with Watts. I always did that. If you're playing this game only to win, and you're running a meta deck because you only want to win, you're not gonna go very far in this game. I'm sorry, like I know a lot of people who only invest money in meta decks because they become meta. They don't go very far in this game. If you want to be good in this game, you have to love the deck you play. You have to like. I know it sounds kind of like I want to say gay, but like it sounds kind of like cartoony. Like oh yeah, love your deck. Well, like Yugi always said, heart of the cards, blah blah blah. But it is true. You have to love the deck you play. And if you're playing a rogue deck and you love that deck, stick with that deck. Make that deck your own. Like just rock the deck because it's your own because you love it. That's why I play Watts. Like again, I like Chaos Dragons, but nothing's ever gonna compare like playing Watts, like because they're my babies. Like I just love playing Watts. It's amazing. I know it's an annoying deck just to be able to stall with messengers and pieces stuff like that, but I just love Watts. They're yellow. I just like it. Yeah, if you're playing a rogue deck, good luck to you. Find a build that works. If you want to play competitively, I wouldn't suggest running a rogue deck because they are hard to win with, and I know from personal experience. But again, if you love the deck and you want to play competitively, you will find a way to like just play a deck you like. Don't play a tier deck just because of the fact that it's winning. Play the deck that you want to play because you love it. So yeah, that's my opinion on rogue decks. Some are good, some are bad. Rogue players, don't complain about the meta. Don't talk down at anyone who plays meta like as if you're better than them because you're independent. You're playing a deck that isn't meta. That doesn't mean anything. All it means is that you choose not to play meta and you think you're better than someone who plays the meta, which doesn't make any sense because more likely, if you play against someone who's running meta, they're going to beat you because of your arrogance. And I know that sounds very mean to say, but it is true. Most people who talk down on the meta are just too arrogant to try and play it, and to the point where they don't think there's any other plays around it. In order to be a good player in this game, you have to know how every deck works. You can't run into a regionals not knowing what other decks do just because you have a good deck. Like I've seen it personally happen before. A lot of people who I get barely getting into the game, I let them borrow my Chaos Dragons. My cousin lets them borrow their Windups, and they're just like, I don't get how this deck wins so easily. I can't figure out the first damn play. Just people who just are bad players, like not bad players, people who are new to the game. So the meta isn't that easy to run. Just remember that. Yeah, I'm kind of just rambling on at this point. I just like doing this with my cards. This is like my favorite thing to do. I like that smack. Hear that? Hear that? Sexy. But yeah. Yeah, don't expect to win an event if you're not arrogant. If you're too arrogant enough to not pay attention to other decks just because they're meta. You have to know how every deck plays. That's why when I'm doing a work, I only play with meta decks because I try and figure out what every play does, so that when I'm at a regionals and I'm playing against that deck, I'm thinking to myself, I know what plays they can do, I know what plays they're going to do, I know the most logical play for them to do, and I always have a backup. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it about rogue decks. If you love the deck, play it. That's pretty much it.